Kiwi.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Kiwi.
Well, the International, or the New Zealand International Film Festival kicks off next month in Auckland. Golly gosh, the 8th of July to the 25th of July. Then it moves around the country throughout that time as well. It is an exciting time of the year. We see all kinds of films that we will never see at any other time, that some of them do come back, a lot of them don't. There's the fantastic sections like the documentary section, which I just can't wait to dive into and absorb. But the man who puts it all together is Bill Gosden, the director of the Film Festival. Hello to you, Bill.
Hi.
Right, nice to have you.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy Matariki. The Film Festival, it is out. The program is out, so people can also jump online to nzff.co.nz and follow along as we're chatting this morning as well. What's your overall impression of where cinema is at in 2010?
I think the overwhelming sensation that we've experienced has been the fact that digital production and presentation are really swamping film. I think about possibly even more than 50% of this year's program will be presented digitally, and it's just increasingly becoming the way things are done. Some of the most beautiful looking new work on the program is still shot on film. I'm thinking particularly of a French-Australian film, The Tree, which is shot by that great New Zealand cinematographer Nigel Bluck, which is shot on film. Looks completely gorgeous. I've never seen the Australian farmed landscape shot as beautifully as it is in that film.
It's done better than that epic that came out. What was it?
Australia.
Australia, yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I fell asleep watching that film in a hotel once, so I can't really comment with any authority.
Yeah.
But then, on the other hand, another one of the most magnificent-looking films on this year's program is a Russian film called How I Ended This Summer, which is a psychological thriller. Two guys who are working on a Met station up above the Arctic Circle, shot on location in this freezing wilderness, but all completely shot on HD and transferred to film. And boy, is that film going to look magnificent.
Wow.
When it's screened on those huge screens at the Auckland Civic and the Embassy in Wellington and Regent in Dunedin. It'll just be wonderful.
And so what you're saying is almost 10 years ago it would have been unheard of to have so many digital
Yeah, I mean, it's
films.
something that people have been predicting for quite a while, and we're really beginning to feel it now. I think our freight bill this year is probably going to be considerably less than we budgeted for on the basis of last year's volume of film cans.
It's interesting. So give us the inside ball on that. How do you receive digital films these days? Can you...
We're showing on Digibeta tape, which provides a very good result. The HD cam players just aren't available in New Zealand because New Zealand has adopted this hard drive 2K delivery, which is what's used for the 3D films, and the supply of those facilities is well behind the demand, so there just aren't those screens available to the film festival.
Do you foresee a time where distribution happens via a private site where you can just go and get what you need?
Yeah, as long as the security issues are dealt with to the satisfaction of the suppliers, and the lockdown on films these days is something else that's new. There's complete terror of piracy, and the lockdowns are extraordinary. Because we have to have all our films censored, we really need to have DVD copies of some titles to submit in advance to the classification office. And there are plenty of people who just absolutely refuse to supply those now. They don't trust anybody with a DVD.
I can imagine that. If they're a distributor in the States and they want to send something to New Zealand, or who knows what's happening down here.
Yeah, precisely.
Who knows whose hands it's going to fall into.
Yeah. No, it's perfectly justified. And unfortunately, film festivals have a pretty bad reputation amongst distributors, largely because of the number of volunteers who are on the workforce at any film festival, including ours. And the word volunteer just sends shivers down the spines of distributors. They just understand that volunteers feel a certain entitlement to some payback, and that might well include having their own private collection of film festival titles.
I tell you what, I feel a documentary coming on about the film festival. Let's talk about the documentary because I think there's nothing better than seeing real life stories up on the big screen and exposing yourself to worlds that you would never experience otherwise.
Sure. I mean, I think the Film Festival's documentary section this year is absolutely stunning, and that would have to be the area of the Film Festival where we turn down the most good films, simply because we, enough is enough. We just can't let the festival be completely overwhelmed by documentaries, but it's very tempting at times. Sabina Gazzanti's film, Dracula, Italy Trembles, is a film that I'm looking forward to enormously, which my colleague Sandra Reid saw at the Cannes Film Festival and said, we've got to have this one. And Sabina Gazzanti is popularly characterised as the Michael Moore of Italy. But the situation in Italy is a little bit different from the situation in the United States. In Italy, of course, the Rupert Murdoch equivalent actually runs the country, and that's Berlusconi.
Yeah.
So this woman's films, which are very deeply critical of the Berlusconi government, are completely banned from Italian television. She began her life just like Michael Moore began, first appeared on TV with a TV series, but she's just can't be seen on Italian TV now, but Italians flock in huge numbers to see her movies. And her new film is about the way the Berlusconi government have completely exploited the Aquila earthquake and the aftermath of it.
Wow, really?
Yep.
A story that's not reported here in the media, you wouldn't find it anywhere else. Yeah.
No. So I know every Italian in New Zealand's going to be very keen to see that film, but I think the Italian section generally in the film festival program is very strong, but I hope that people who love a gorgeous, elegant Italian drama like I Am Love, which is opening the festival in Auckland, might also be interested in taking a look at what underpins that country by looking at Dracula, Italy Trembles. So, I mean, that's one kind of rabble-rousing, rather raucous documentary on a mission. And at the other end of the spectrum, you have a lovely, gentle Irish film like His and Hers, which is just a succession of Irish women, starting with young girls, working through to old women, talking about the men in their lives. A very charming film.
Beautiful. And am I right to say that you've also launched a slow section?
The slow section took off last year. I think a lot of people, when they peruse the film festival, have a real suspicion when they're reading the program notes, and if they see a film described as contemplative, for example, they think, oh no, I'm going to run a mile, I'm not going to go and see that.
3 hours of sitting looking at a blank wall.
Whereas other people, of course, are going to be drawn to that.
Yeah.
And I think it just seemed like a good idea to signal and highlight some of the films that really take their time to do what they do and that aren't necessarily that interested in telling a story, but have other things on their minds. And this year, Police Adjective, the Romanian film, is probably the one that most people have heard about. We've had a long wait for that film. It was in the Cannes Film Festival last year. But it's a film where you watch a detective carrying out surveillance on these kids who are just dealing a little bit of dope. I mean, it's pathetic that a cop should be expected to spend his days trailing along behind these kids.
Yeah. And
the cop in question is completely convinced that the law, which is a hangover from the communist past in Romania, is completely ridiculous and out of step with anything else in Europe, and that what he's doing is pretty futile. But what the film does so brilliantly, I think, is convey the tedium of what he's doing, and then you see him write up his reports, and he has to construe meaning in this rather kind of mundane activity that you've been observing in the film. So the film has a very strong intellectual underpinning, is very strongly critical of the society it describes at the same time.
Sounds like the cinematic, contemplative version of The Wire, perhaps.
Yeah, it's The Wire on Quaaludes, really. It's yeah, it has. Well, the kids in this Romanian film are such innocents compared with the kids who are dealing in The Wire. There's a Brazilian film in the slow cinema section, which is definitely one of my favourites in the festival, this year called I Travel Because I Have To, I Return Because I Love You. And it's a road movie through the Sertão in northeastern Brazil, which is basically a desert, really. And the geologist who's travelling through this very barren but utterly beautiful landscape gradually reveals on the soundtrack that his heart has been broken.
Ah.
And the title is from a very corny graffiti he sees in a gas station. But the film has a beautiful melancholic sense of a sad man on the road, and it, as the film moves along, his spirits slowly pick up through encounters with people on the road. But anybody who slows down into the kind of melancholic rhythm of that film is guaranteed a wonderful journey, in my opinion.
Sounds absolutely delightful. nzff.co.nz. Bill Gosden is the director of the film festival. I can't wait. It kicks off in Auckland on July the 8th and then moves around the country. You can find all the times around the country as well. Bill Gosden, thanks so much.
My pleasure.